clicking my fingers.
Fine by me. Here we go, going live. And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite, the Streisand effect, because what am I drinking tonight? Orange juice out of a mug that should otherwise be holding coffee. And I know for you guys over on YouTube, everything is reversed, but you might be able to make out the logo. I had an interesting time off. I got myself some swag, Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. It's not dead yet. And part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. Obviously, because I came away with swag. I am your main host. I'm known as Shujin. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Good to be back with y'all. Let me introduce you to everybody, because, I mean, that's part of the reason why you're here. From the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch. I have remembered again both names.
But
I'm
you
remembering.
can't forget that right now I'm in the Mid-South.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I'm wearing a tiara because, like, it's my birthday. It's my birthday.
Yes, it is. And from off to the right-hand side of the coast of the North America, UnrenownedTech is here. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, with no video, because that's kind of the way that it works. Now, I'm saying that because for some of you who are looking at the video right now, you might recognize that things are playing a little bit different from normal. I'm trying something a little bit different on Discord. It may work, it may not. It's going to be what it's going to be for right now. So if things look a little weird, it's because they kind of are. It is what it is. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Anyway, so for those of you that have been wondering, where have I been for the little bit? And am I going to stay with you guys for tonight? That's kind of complicated. I took a couple days off, and it works out a little on the weird side. Last weekend, my kid was back from school, and we went up to Toronto for fertile equinox. So that was Saturday. That was interesting because I had twinged my back again, which meant that I was very concerned about doing bad things to my back and sitting. So joy there. I used an ice pack on my back like crazy. And when I say ice pack, it's not what you think. I still have in my freezer a rather long freezer pack branded Godiva. Yes, that Godiva. And I had that on my back for hours and hours and hours, and then some steam time in my shower, and more time with the cold on my back, and popping Motrin to, help everything. I'm okay after all that. We had a good trip up to Toronto. I had a good trip out to Ohio just to get away from everything. So that was last week. And yes, I did hit Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. There are 2 stores left. So, that was good. I did have some White Castle while I was out there. I brought a Crave case back for the little one. I have no idea how many are still left out of those 30, but, it was worth it. But
did you remember to get maple syrup?
We left so early and returned so late that we just did not hit any of the, we did not hit Real Canada Superstore. So we didn't get any maple syrup. We didn't hit Harvey's for our usual yearly burgers from Harvey. If you guys have never been to Canada and have never tried Harvey's burgers, seriously, as far as we're concerned, Harvey's, Five Guys, homemade, that's kind of the tier list, right? So it is.
I prefer Fuddruckers.
Never been to, so
Well, there's a place down
Oh,
here called Huey's that's actually really good.
Also, not one I've ever heard of, so
does it have a
that's okay.
picture of a big baby duck out front?
No, but
Darn it.
it's a local joint, but it's been voted like the best burger in Memphis for like the last 3 years. It's really good.
Funny enough, I was looking
You're
around.
really big.
I was looking around some of the restaurants up in Alaska ways, and there's some people who know whose neck of the woods I'm talking about. And there is a Burger Queen up there. How they get away with it, I don't know, but you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It is what it is. But like I said, I had a couple of days just away from everything. I didn't turn off my phone like I was kind of expecting to. I was still in touch with stuff, but I really had just downtime away from everything. I would like to think that it was a good, and that's really going to be determined by how I go forward. And the opening of the show is actually going to touch a little bit on that, so we'll get around to that moment. Now that I got all that out of the way, by the way, thank you for joining us. And if you do join us as we're recording live over on YouTube, you can be part of the live chat over there. And of course, thank you guys for being able to make it back. Felis, hi, hun. Hope you're doing okay out over there. And Stephanie, yeah, good to see you. Yeah, the wind across North America has not been happy. Heard from some folks that over in Ohio, which of course is, west of me, so the wind blows from that side. A lot of folks out Ohio way have been without power for a bit, which I've had the power flicker over here a couple times. So if the power goes out even once, I do have backup power enough to keep my computer running long enough and my cable router so that I can at least shut down the stream properly. If it happens, I will interrupt everything, we will simply close the shop, and we will see what we have to do to bring it back again next week. So if we suddenly disappear, apologies ahead of time. Just want you to know that that's just kind of the way that it's going to have to be.
If we suddenly disappear, we can ironically call it an act of God.
We could, although the god in this case would be either Murphy, Loki, Gaia, and I mean
It's still funny.
Wait, Hermes? Was Hermes? I mean, the god of speed.
Hermes was a messenger.
Yeah, but he had wings on his ankles. Didn't he have something to do with the winds also? No, they were physically on his legs. Do I remember right? You know what? I'm sure somebody's gonna figure it out for me, so I'm gonna figure it out after. In any case, how about I get everything rolling, and we'll see how tonight plays out. Sounds good.
Rolling.
So, where is my pointer? There we go. With 5 minutes on the clock for you, your 5-minute freestyle, I didn't fix my video, starts right now. This week, I'm calling it Connections. They're reasons, and part of that reason, let me lean up over here so you can see me better on the video. Part of those connections is what I was dealing with last week. Getting back together again with family, which is what going up to Fernal Equinox or going down to Anthrocon, a good portion of that is really what it is. It's family reunions for us. And I know I've talked about it before. Some people don't know what to make of the furry fandom, and I get that. We're a weird bunch. We really are. We're very atypical as compared to the rest of the population, and we've actually got the data to support that. And you guys over there at First Science, thank you so much for that. Having connections with people, with organizations. I mean, we've said it before. The human species is a social creature. It's hard for us not to have connections with people. And it hurts when we don't have them for various reasons. In some cases, it's because you're simply separated because of happenstance. Last couple of years, we haven't been able to go across the border because, I don't know if anybody has noticed, but, global sick going around. Which, by the way, Little One and I have both been keeping tabs on each other and testing. All clean. All clean. So having those opportunities to get together with everybody, when it finally happens, it's kind of overwhelming. And it's kind of in a good way, because you get the opportunity of, touching base again. Family reunions is, like I said, it's really what it feels like more than anything else. What I got the chance to do to just get away from everything was to have a little bit more connection. I got to be away from everything, but I still had an opportunity of reconnecting with a friend, someone who means a great deal, has been with me through thick and thin, who has supported me, who has been my shoulder to cry on, and my forehead to kiss, metaphorically speaking. And it's been a long time since last we got together. A very, very long time. And I've missed them. Yeah, it's another one of those situations where, we met in virtual space and eventually got the chance to meet in real space, meet space. And it didn't change the fact that we are people. Again, we're those social creatures. It's important for us to be able to reach out every once in a while and just touch base. Are you okay? It's not easy for people like me to do the reach out for anything other than checking on somebody else. Are you okay? Cool. That part we can do. Reaching out to say, I need, that's tough. That's more tough than people really give it credit for. And somebody had said a long time ago that one of the most important things that could ever be said is not, I love you. Believe it or not, it's, let me help you. That goes a long way towards someone who finds it virtually impossible to say, can you help me? There's nothing wrong with asking. And in some cases, it might be exactly, if you'll pardon the expression, what the doctor ordered. Thank you guys for being part of that. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and handle the horrible scopes, because that's what comes next. Funny how that works, right? Like that. And how is that pronounced? Aelus? Aelus was the god of the winds in Greek mythology. Yes, I had to look it up to remember. You know what? I look at that name, and all I can hear in my head is the voice chat going on for whatever that moon builder game was some years back, where everybody was making the voice synthesis system just go nuts. And The only thing that I remember out of it was the voice system constantly saying and spamming John Madden, John Madden, John Madden. I don't remember what the game was, and I don't really care. At least not right now. Figure it out later. So as mentioned, it is time for this week's Horrible Scopes. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. Doesn't really much matter. You can roll a d12. Get one of those d12s that's got the symbols on it, and then memorize what the symbols are, because I don't remember what each of the symbols are. I really don't. Oh, and by the way, somebody from my Discord had suggested a theme for this week. It was they suggested that I do it revolving around beer, cider, and wine, which means I had to do a little bit of hunting and digging and research, because of course you people throw me curveballs that make me have to go and do research every damn time. I do more research on these than I really care to, but you know what? It's for you.
Because you love us.
You know what? I've got a specific set of skills in sign language that I would love to share right about now. Trouble is, I don't remember if it's Italian or American Sign Language, so I'll just go with the good old-fashioned, and we'll just call it a day. Aries. You can start off things with a recipe for poor man's everyday drinking mead. Yes, I decided to go with mead. Take 10 to 12 pounds of honey, so give or take about 6 kilos of honey. I know, 6 kilos of honey. 4 gallons of spring water. I'm not doing the conversion at this point. I don't care. Don't worry about it. 2 packages of Fleischmann's dry yeast. And 1 cup of grape nuts cereal. Apparently, yes, you can brew this into a daily drinker, though you'll need to strain it before you drink it, of course. The cost comes out to about $58 US a batch. But if you can handle Tang with breakfast, you can handle this for breakfast too. Let me tell you, when I was looking up stuff, this was not the first thing I looked up. I just scrambled it all over the place. When I found out that you could do this, trust me, I very much was thinking to myself, I like grape nuts. I don't like it that much, though.
Didn't grape nuts used to be grape flakes cereal?
They had both. They had grape nuts and grape flakes.
Okay.
Or grape nut flakes.
They do still exist. It says separate products.
Gotcha.
Taurus, you get to be all erudite and educated this week. Have you heard of the sparkling carbonated wine from France called Champagne? Of course you have. But did you know about a similar product called Prosecco? It's also a sparkling wine, but hails from northeastern Italy. Legally, it can't be called champagne, but it's the same type of product made from a different grape at a different location. This week, buy a cheap bottle of Prosecco to christen your boat as it comes out of dry dock this week.
Gemini, looks like you got gifted something creative this week. Wolf Hartgriff over on Twitter suggested this drink they created a couple years ago. Take cream soda, mix in some Kraken spiced rum, and serve in a glass featuring Octavia. They didn't suggest chilling the glass, but I will. They call this drink Octi's Hard Cream, and it sounds great. Maybe float a digestive biscuit on top, layer a little more rum on that, light it on fire for somebody's birthday. This weekend, after being intellectual all week, enjoy it cold, straight, however you like. Just keep it classy. Yeah, a digestive biscuit on fire is classy, right?
The digestive wouldn't be. The rum would be.
You know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. And by the way, Stephanie, floating a digestive on top. Believe it or not, I was actually thinking about you in particular when I added that. They didn't add that. I added that. I added that. I actually would love to try these. I can get them at my local shop, believe it or not, but
They're all right.
I haven't bought one yet. I'll have to do
They're
that.
they're all right. The old school shortbread biscuits, though,
Hmm.
those are good if you like shortbread. Keebler's got nothing on some of the old school stuff for that.
That doesn't.
I literally, I used to buy the Keebler shortbread, and somebody showed me some of the old school stuff. I haven't gone back to Keebler in a while.
Can't imagine why. Cancer Moonchild. Do you know what country is the world's largest producer of cider? Here's a hint. They spell it C-I-D-R-E. You know, the same way that they spell meter. Right, it's France. And by regulation, and this is not going to surprise anybody that knows, French cider makers must use specific apples designated for cider production. Not like here in the US, where you can pretty well get away with almost anything. Plus, the US version has more than double the alcohol content than the French version. So this week, find any leftover bottles of apple cider and start fermenting it yourself.
Leo, cider, either hard or soft, is generally made from apples, but there is also a product called Perry that is cider made from pears. Just like its apple cousin, it can be fermented, but why would you do that to yourself? Why not just do it to someone else? This week, buy a bottle of Perry and send it to someone you tolerate. They deserve it.
Just make sure you're not in the same room when they get the gift. They might throw it at your head. Virgo, there's a specific compound in red wine called tannins that's responsible for how bitter or drying it feels in your face. No, it's supposed to be in your mouth. Anyway, it's found in the grape skins and acts as a preservative. So red wines with higher tannin can age longer than white wines, which don't have tannin, or red wines with lower tannin. Eventually, the tannins fall out of suspension, forming sediment at the bottom of the bottle. This week, get some paper coffee filters to keep your classy red wine classy.
Paper filters. That's a great way to do it there, right?
Make sure you rinse your filter first too, so you don't get the.
Don't reuse your paper. You know what? You're reusing
No,
paper filters.
no, I'm not
that's
talking
fine.
about you
You know what?
reusing them. I'm
See,
talking about rinsing off the particle during the creation process. So my local coffee shop, they were showing that when you get some of the store-bought filters, they'll do a pre-rinse of them because every once in a while there's little fibers just from the printing press process because these things are manufactured in bulk.
Okay.
And so then they'll pour out the water and then they'll put the grinds in and do the pour over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Fair. Libra, first off, this week buy a pallet of your favorite carbonated soda. Let's just get that one out of the way. Now, here's why. Because it is possible. It is possible, however lengthy, to ferment it into something called Coke Shine. It's a real thing, man. You'll only get about 8% alcohol, but it might be cheaper than buying the booze to add to your Coke, or Pepsi, or RC, or White Rock.
Coke Shine. That just sounds like it's going to end poorly.
It could. Am I the only one that actually remembers White Rock Cola?
I remember RC, but I don't remember White Rock.
White Rock. The RC's just nasty.
RC. Well, RC stands for Royal Crown.
But it's just nasty.
Everybody's got to have a price point. Everybody's got to have a price point.
Scorpio, since we're working on a lot of mixed drinks, we'd like to remind you of something important. You should not add ice cubes to wine, especially not red wine. But if you did want to add something called red wine, use frozen fruits and berries to make it a sangria. Remember to sip your drink. Don't gulp it. We don't want you swallowing the berries whole. And don't use grapes. That's just gross.
Yeah, I mean, and an easy trick is just to buy the fruit pre-frozen.
Yeah,
You know,
but sangria, you're supposed to put like orange slices in it and stuff like that.
well, you can get pre-frozen strawberries and such.
Well, yeah, but oranges is
And the best part
traditional.
is if you don't use them all up in your alcoholic beverage, you can blend them into a smoothie and then add alcohol to the smoothie.
This is true. By the way, those of you that are listening, the Windows warning messages, chimes, sorry, that was on my side. I do not know how to stop that. I got a little warning about power in my UPS. I do not think that that was power out. It could have just been a power dip in voltage, because it's set to do that with the way that things are going. So we'll press on for the moment and see what we get.
Sagittarius, time to sound really smart. Next time you're at the bar, order a Drambuie and Coke on the rocks. Your friends will think you know what you're talking about, but both you and the bartender will know what you're really ordering is basically a rusty nail. It'll be worth it.
Now, the reason why I put that one in there is because Tiny Tribble had his first official alcoholic beverage purchase this past weekend, because in Ontario, legal drinking age is 19. He being 20 currently, is legal to drink. So
My first legal drink was a buttery nipple.
whatever floats your boat, man.
It's butterscotch schnapps and Baileys.
Take your word.
It
Capricorn.
literally tasted like a liquid Werther's original.
Capricorn. You also get to order something from the bar that most people will poo-poo at. Combine white rum, lime juice, sugar, yes, sugar, mint leaves, and soda water.
That sounds good.
Yes, this drink is known as a mojito.
Yep.
If you're looking to stay hydrated during an extended weekend filled with walking and talking and mingling at a convention with lots of people, maybe this is not the drink for you. Then again, if you're drinking these consistently, chances are you're just old and set in your ways anyway. This week, tell the kids, get off of your lawn.
So I went to a restaurant that made probably the most amazing Cubano I've ever had, and I ordered a mojito. And for the sugar that they put in was actually sugarcane sugar. You know, it hadn't been through all the various processes. So it still had some of the flavor of the original sugarcane going on for it. They literally had mint leaves in the pot. They had potted mint plants, and they pulled the leaves fresh off the plant and put it in with the sugar and blended it right there in the cup with a pestle. And it was probably the best mojito I've ever had. So if you go to a bar and they don't put the mint leaves in with the sugar, they instead use a mint oil or mint infused alcohol. Don't bother. It's not worth it. It's not going to be as good as it could have been.
Fair enough. Oh yeah, by the way, Brigid, how's your German?
Not very good.
Oh, this is going to be delightful then.
Bitte moi.
Go for it.
Aquarius. There is something called wheat beer we need to tell you about. It's a top fermented beer brewed with a large proportion of wheat relative to amount of malted barley. The main varieties are German Weinsbier and Belgian Witbier. Just because it's got a bit of wheat doesn't mean it's a replacement for the bread in your sandwich. Since you're too old to enjoy liquid lunch, this week enjoy beverage breakfast.
And I want y'all to know, this last one, I'm personally called out on this one that's about to have happen, so if y'all have yourselves a good laugh about it, know full well it's directed at me.
Yeah, well, you and I need to have a conversation because I just read this thing.
Have fun.
Pisces. I'm so sorry, Pisces. Grasshopper. Your favorite drink is a grasshopper. It is an unmistakable, shocking green neon color, visible from a 12 people deep queue. The only reason you order it is to show off how much of a tool you are to the bartender and the people around you who have to watch this milky green witch's cauldron concoction fall into your face. The only people who order this drink are you and the old blue haired biddies who can't be bothered to take off their I Like Ike campaign buttons. This week, stop showing off. You're not fooling anyone.
I couldn't order a grasshopper. When we were in Toronto, I couldn't order one. They said, "Oh, we don't have cream de coconut. We can't make that. It's cream de coco." Okay, whatever, you know.
Cream de mint, I thought. Am I right?
It's cream de mint, cream de cocoa, milk,
Oh.
ice. Combine, shake, pour. Done. No, they said, "No, we don't have cream de coconut, so we can't do that." I have sign language for another day. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. If you like what you got, wonderful. I work really hard at these, so, just tell me that you enjoyed them. Even if you have to close your eyes.
Even if you hated them.
You know what? Just close your eyes, lean back, think of England. Just make me feel better about it.
Part of me actually wants to try to make that breakfast mead now.
Can't say I blame you.
Of course you would.
I'll have these posted at the end of the week as usual, all the usual spots, Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, so you can look them up later, as well as last week's already up. And I really liked the CB radio one that I did for last week, so you should look that one up and have a good time at that one. I'm sorry, I was interrupting you. Or maybe you're not gonna... okay.
What?
Be that way.
It's fine.
I'm good.
It is episode 444 on the docket, Your Honor. And let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. I've actually been trying to pronounce this correctly for like all day, honest and truly. Schadendorphins.
Bless you.
Damn, I actually got it right. I did not come up with this. And as stated,
you know what you know what it sounds like to me if
Sure.
I look at it from a point of ignorance. Just from looking at the word, and knowing of one word called Schadenfreude, which is getting the enjoyment out of other people having misfortune. It sounds like a combination of a German word and an American word, where you get it's the referring to the endorphins you get when you experience Schadenfreude.
That's exactly what it is.
Ding, ding, ding,
It is? Really? I got it. Dude, I did not look this up. Really? Are you shitting me?
You got it in one. Good.
Holy.
Good man.
Somebody mark this shit on a calendar? This does not happen often.
So, this term was not coined by Frisian Candy on Twitter. If you go look at the Twitter timeline for Holy Crap TV, you will see the interaction that we had, and they said that, I didn't make this one up. I saw it somewhere else, and I'm just like, you know what? It's fine. You get the finder's fee on this. So they were appreciative. But it is so worthwhile to learn this term and use it any opportunity you can right now, because the nice folks out over there in, let me check my watch, Utah, have decided that they're going to go ahead and start banning books in public schools. So they passed all the legislation and whatnot about it to make sure that, any kind of pornography and age inappropriate behaviors in these books was taken out. And then some brilliant parent who we could have expected. We couldn't have written. Actually, we knew exactly that this was going to end up happening. If we were waiting for it, somebody went ahead and said, "Excuse me, hi. I would like to have a book banned that includes let's see, incest, technically incestual rape, daughter to father because of getting the father drunk, misogyny, genocide, infanticide. Well, you know what? Let's stop there. Oh yeah, okay. So let's go on. Talking about the genitals of people and comparing them to those of animals. There's always a fun one right there. I would like to have this book banned, please. That would be the Holy Bible. And they lost their shit. Good! Far as we're concerned, because we knew this was going to be happening. We knew it was going to happen. The only thing we didn't know was when it was going to happen. And guess what? It's happening now. And I could not be happier to hear about it. So, in the whole fuck around and find out, guess where we're at right now for those nice fucks out over there?
Finding out.
Yes. And the best part about it is, there's no way of extracting just the New Testament because there, to the best of my knowledge, admittedly, I don't know everything. The best of my knowledge, there is no such thing as just the New Testament Bible, because there's no use of having the New Testament Bible without having the Old Testament Bible. I don't know what the hell just happened to me there. I don't. That was a really weird voice that just came out of my face. I don't understand that. But I don't know about anybody else, but I think we're gonna have a little bit of fun because. You know what? Congratulations, Utah. You get to be the test case where we all sit back and just go, we warned you about this. We warned you about this. You didn't listen to us. And well, this is going to be great because you're going to set legal precedent because you're going to fold like a goddamn, you're going to fold like a 1970s nylon wicker chair. You know which ones I'm talking about? The ones with the nylon webbing on it. It's the cheap ass plastic tips on the end of the aluminum frame. Everybody had them in the 70s. Took them to the beach. You know which ones I'm talking about. So, my fellow hosts, I pose it to you. Did you know this one was coming too?
I've been waiting for this shit.
Mm-hmm.
See,
It's like when they talk about murder, right? When they talk about talk about abortion, it's like, well, we're gonna make it a death penalty if a woman gets an abortion or if the doctor does an abortion. It's like, dude, there's like 60 plus sections of the Bible that says do not commit murder. So what you're talking about is actually doing wrong just because somebody else in your eye did wrong too, and now, oh look, you're still being stupid. This time just with sex now. What's next? Marriage? Oh, never mind.
yeah. And please forgive me. I have to pause here for a second. Stephanie is saying the oldest existing Bible now in the British Library is just the New Testament and has thousands of amendments to it. Forgive me. This is, you know what? I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm guessing that this isn't exactly a British piece like so many other things in the British Museum. I'm just going to leave it there because that's a really nasty dig overall, but it's also an easy mark. So I would like to say I'm sorry. Like to. Not gonna. Like to. We'll see how that plays out. So, Brigid, yeah, we've mentioned about this a couple of times before. Did you know about this particular story, and or how are you feeling about it too? Because I'm having a really hard time trying to keep my face from, hurting so much.
All I can say is LULZ, lols.
Mm-hmm. Mm. A lot of that stuff going around, man. And I'm saying that my face is hurting a lot because,
Hey, somebody started, you know?
yeah, yeah, my face is
So,
hurting this much because I have not really been using these heavy duty smiling muscles in a very long time. So they haven't exactly atrophied, but they're really, really kind of looking at me going, dude, the hell's going on? What did we miss?
now we just need to see this happen in Florida.
That one's going to be a little bit of a tougher uphill.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible. Not impossible. Not by a long shot. But it's going to be a little bit more of an uphill, sadly. Because, well, when you.
It's Florida.
Yeah,
Dude, you can stop at it's Florida.
okay, now see.
Florida. They keep it the duh in Florida.
Well, see, the problem isn't so much that it's Florida. Now, we can say whatever it is that we want to say about Florida because, I mean, it has a stereotype at this point, which, New York has its stereotype, which is contained within 300 square miles of New York City, and the rest of the state is just like, guys, we're not like this at all. But Florida, leaving the stereotype aside for a second of quote unquote Florida man, which could be Florida woman, doesn't either, doesn't matter. The people who decide that the best way of fishing for crocodiles is to dangle your finger into the water so that the little babies get you, which is fine up until the point where you don't realize that mama's right there watching too. That's a bad afterlife right there. The problem is, screw it, I'll name names. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, has been maneuvering. Sorry,
Attacking people.
Well, not even
through
that.
legislation.
Well, not even that just yet. He's been layering, like, God, I can't believe I'm going to use this. The same way that Hydra in the MCU movies had tendrils all over the place, like with Project Snow White, where the Mormon Church had people in all kinds of divisions of the federal government to spy on it all. Ron DeSantis has been steadily adding bits and pieces of power, or more specifically, people he has say over into various different positions, which include, amongst other things, courts, of course, district attorneys. That one in and of itself, it pissed me off to such an extent I can't even tell. But he's got so many fingers on so many buttons and dials and knobs and levers and switches and things that it's just the people who have been saying, I lived through what happened in Germany, and this is what happened then. They said it before. I listened to him. I listened to him. I believe him. I got no reason not to. I mean,
that's because you're not currently trying to
take over the world. Yeah, I know. And I know. The U.S. is not, generally speaking, governors of individual states in the United States are not out to take over the world. But as far as their world is concerned, it is their state. And then however much they can grab on after that.
And
but he has higher aspirations.
In a way, they are trying to take over the world because they will continue to go as far as they can get until they're stopped. And then when they're stopped, they'll just keep pushing until the roadblock's gone. That's how they got rid of Roe v. Wade. They just kept pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until it finally went through.
Yeah.
That's how they work. That is the part that the Democrats don't get. That's the part that a lot of people in this country don't get, is that they're really good at being persistent in their ignorance and their hatred and their desire to manipulate and control. People don't get it.
They've been playing the long game for a very long time. Because they know the tech. What's the old adage? How do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
So Roe v. Wade is an elephant that took 40 years.
Yeah, decades. Took them decades to get rid of it. And then when it occurred, the old white angry people celebrated.
Up until the point. That's on your side, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard that one. Anyway, so yeah, so this whole thing has just been, to put it mildly, infuriating. Because, like I said, this legislation that's gone on over there in Utah with banning books, we knew it was coming. We knew it was coming because we understood what it was that they were trying to do, and when I say we, I mean the people who have enough cognizant ability to extrapolate, 2 steps beyond today to see what's going on. And good Lord, did these people have an absolute fit when the roosters came home to roost. And all of a sudden they have to look at stuff and go, wait a minute, no, it's not supposed to work this way. You set the stage, man. We're just actors on it now. It is what it is. So what are you going to do about it?
They'll make they'll put something into it to modify it to not reference religious material.
Well, now
Which will be great when, because you know what's going to happen at that point, right? You know exactly who will come out with a book for that.
That makes me wonder.
I want you to think back to a particular coloring book.
Oh, I know. I've still got my
Okay,
PDF
so you know
copy
where I went.
of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. I would love to see them put out a religious pornography book.
Not a religious. Well, okay, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
I see where you're going with this one. Go ahead. Stop talking code for a second and explain to everybody what you mean.
Okay, so back when I believe it was Orange County, Florida, did something really stupid in the school system. They brought in this religious leader from one of the branches of Catholicism, pass out Bibles while school was in session, and they forced the kids into attendance in the school auditorium during school hours to do this. When the ACLU and everybody came in and said, hey, look, you got to stop that. You either can't do that or you have to allow every other religious organization to do the same thing. And the school district said, fine, we'll let anybody do it. We're not stopping. Okay. So the Satanic Temple created a children's coloring book that you could download and print out. They went and passed them out. And like the first week or two of the creation, anybody could download the PDF. You have to pay for it now. It's a couple bucks, but I have a copy. Shujin has a copy.
I got a copy.
And
oh yeah, that's right. Brigid, did you ever get a copy?
Mm-hmm. Good. I got several.
The when it got passed out, the school board said, you know what, we made a mistake. We're not going to do it ever again. Have a nice day. Everybody out. So now we've got a group saying no sex in books, nothing potentially sexy, like the word sex or any. The law is very open to interpretation very easily because it's very broad ranging.
Yep.
And I could see them putting in a clause saying, except for religious text. And I could see the Satanic Temple coming out with a children's book describing adult sexual relationships in a not in a way designed to fap to. You're not going to have a wank over it. You're not going to rub one out. But more of, these are healthy scenarios to expect as an adult. And here's, as an adult, how to, communicate your desires and your needs with whoever your significant other or others. Put some poly in there, really screw up the conservatives on that one. And make it a guide to human sexuality and sexual relationships with descriptions, artfully tasteful pictures. Because if you think the Michael sculpture is porn, then everything is porn for you. Bye-bye. You could look at a sock and get a hard on.
Okay, now
Piss off.
that the sculpture thing, you're gonna have to explain about that one also.
Yeah,
Sculpture
so
David got
yeah, Brigid,
born.
you take this one.
Yeah, you do it, Brigid.
Yeah, Michelangelo's sculpture of David. Some parent was like, "So empty, pornography. We can't have this." So yeah.
Yeah, it was a school field trip, and well, somebody just basically lost their shit over it.
Yep.
That's okay. Another school teacher down south lost her job too. Or no, she didn't lose her job. She got written up. She got a warning on her file and all that because the school was concerned with her teaching her class about what their rights as an American citizen are.
Ooh.
And apparently the school board got really worried and concerned over that, so they wrote her up. She posted on TikTok. The last 5 or 8 seconds of the video is her going, "What are they concerned about? What are they concerned about? What are they concerned about?" Just on repeat.
It's
But it's a really conservative section of school system that she's in. So,
which again,
that's what they're concerned about.
Yeah, it is exactly the kind of thing that people should know something about. Now, I will admit, when I was going to be graduating high school. Now, admittedly, this takes us back to 1987. I'll admit it. I graduated high school in 1987. Which means that my birthday the beginning of this month, make 39. Yeah. The thing was, you were supposed to have taken a course called civics. And at the time, it was supposed to have been a mandatory class in order to graduate.
And it wasn't. It was a mandatory class.
It's
well,
now,
it used to be mandatory before the 80s, before the 70s.
Well, all right. So let me explain a little bit about this one, because this is going back a long ways now for me to remember. So some of the details I'm really fuzzy on at this point, and I will admit it. To the best of my recollection, all these years later, it was supposed to have been a mandatory class in order to graduate. However, at the time, when I was finishing up my senior year, I was taking, oh God, I literally had to find somewhere in order to get phys ed into my schedule, because I was taking, almost everything in my course was music related, except for the few things that I could get away with not taking at the time. But I mean, I was following through on going the music route when I finally came out of high school and going into college. College and I did not get along well, be that as it may. So I don't know how quote unquote mandatory that particular class really was. It may have been one of these things where they tell you it's mandatory to take, but
It used to be
kind
part of the school curriculum all across the U.S.
that's a piece that I've heard. But again, at the same time, I don't know what was in it because I didn't I didn't get any information from anybody as to what was in that class at all. So I don't know, man. And Stephanie's correcting me over here. Oh, okay. Stephanie gave a little bit of information that apparently I must have screwed up with something else. Uh, it wasn't a trip. The whole thing with David. School principal proposed to teach a classic course, and David was one of the illustrations. Said principal was sacked because one parent objected. A classics course. So, you know, this is the problem that we run into now, man. People who have come through piss poor education are now the ones who are in a position of making poor choices for their next generation and not even realize. And sadly, this is simply a feedback loop that will compound onto it. This is idiocracy about to have happen. And when I say about to have happened, I mean it is happening, but it's not irrevocable. At least not yet. Fortunately. So we have to wait and see what happens with it. You know, once upon a time ago, things like nudity in art, there's an actual collection of art that's called nudes. Because everybody's got a human body. They're not all perfect, they're not all whole, but they are who and what they are. And a sculpture of David with his penis and scrotum hanging out, that's the human body. That's half the population within a certain percentage of error. You know? I mean, so what? Why
It's
is it
not
an
like
issue?
it's not like they were proposing going to the Museum of Penises.
Is that in Germany? I feel like that's something that should be in Germany.
Uh, yeah, Iceland.
Okay.
It actually, if you go to Iceland, there's the Icelandic Phallological Museum, and they actually do like they collect, they study, and present real phalluses.
Okay.
Not really my taste, but okay, that's fine.
But I'm just saying, it's not like if I was a principal or school teacher and said, "Hey, let's go to a museum filled with penises," I would expect to have that come back and bite me in the ass. Assuming it's not a health course, to be followed up by a museum of vaginas.
Okay, well,
Assuming there's one of those.
I mean, you've also got the small problem of, everybody's going to need, airfare and their passport and the
And there is a
inoculations.
vagina museum
Oh,
in
that's
England.
right. They would need their vaccinations too. Damn.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, there is a vagina museum in England. That'd be a hell of a field trip. Go to one, then the other. See the world.
you
Can't
know,
have that. Science actually proved that if children travel to other countries, learn bits and pieces of the cultures and such, they tend to be more empathetic towards their fellow human beings. So
It's true.
can't have that, now can we?
That's true.
But as back to my point is, I didn't, this guy didn't say, hey, look, we should just gather around the local playboys and hustlers and try copying them. This is actual art, not porn. But then again, I think back and I remember there are little ladies who go to museums where when they see this stuff, they lose their fucking minds and they have to be dragged out by security because they want to,
Yep.
destroy it. They try to reach out and not touch, but like knock it over. Good luck with that because that thing is freaking mounted. There's a joke in there. But the point is that you've got people who are so indoctrinated to hating the human body because of their religion that anything that potentially reflects stuff about the human body sets them off on an irrational, hyped up, anxiety ridden, hate fueled whatever. It's insane. And it's all because they have never broken out of that mentality of hate the human body, hate the human body, hate the human body. Wait a minute. Didn't you just say God made the man in his image? Shouldn't we be revering the human body then? Huh?
As an aside, by the way, I don't know if you saw it, Stephanie had put over here, I doubt that the complaining parents even ever left their town.
Probably true.
And
they probably
how,
only got married because one got the other pregnant.
as unfair a stereotype as that is.
Oh, it's all too common.
It is, sadly, yeah. And that, you know what? Let's take a trip down that rabbit hole for a couple of seconds, because that kind of ties together another piece. A big portion of the problem that we are discussing with this, these puritanical ideologies regarding not even human sexuality, but just the human form. You're right. A good portion of it is religiously based, and admittedly so, but that also is sideways from the whole thing about, here in the United States, the attack on reproductive rights and bodily autonomy. Because if you control...
Yeah, go ahead.
If you control the people in their most... I don't like using the term, but it's going to fit. In their most sacred of sanctum, their selves, their actual physical bodies, you end up controlling everything. And if that means that you relegate women to being breeding stock because they don't have a choice, again, those of us that can look 2 steps down the road, we know full well what happens. People can't get an abortion for any reason. Okay, assume that it is a healthy and viable embryo. What happens? People who are not in a position to be able to afford are going to get stuck. They're going to travel in order to get rid of. They're going to find a way extra medically. They'll throw themselves downstairs to induce. They will do
and then
whatever
they do
it takes.
say stupid retorts to that by going, well, we'll just make it illegal for you to throw yourself down a flight of stairs. What are you going to do? It's not going to stop them from doing it. It's only going to punish them after the fact. And that still, again, is not going to stop them from doing it. It's like when we propose gun control laws and you go, oh, laws aren't going to stop them from doing it. Well, gun control laws aren't going to stop school shootings, but they will diminish them. Okay? Now, On the other hand, if you want to truly stop abortions, you should be doing the thing like similar to regulation, not regulating sex, but instead medically sound and accurate sexual education. But because you refuse to do reasonable things, we only get the irrational actions. The we had, I forget what state it was, they did this huge thing where they went and did medically accurate, because they didn't have it, they were an abstinence only school district, and the school district was huge. They did they replaced their abstinence only with medically factual sex education, right? It was completely strictly medical facts. And when when the sperm hits the yada yada, and so on and so on and so on. When they did that, almost overnight, the amount of unwanted teen pregnancies dropped like a rock. Abortions were for not medically viable, where there was no chance, the child was already dead, and if they went through with it, the mother could die, that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, it works. We have clear, concrete proof that it works. The reason why they ended up backing out of it when it ended, was because the religious parents lost their collective fucking minds. Because, oh, little Sally and little Susie, or Bobby and Billy, or whoever, whatever kids of whatever gender and whatever fashion, who predilection, was having sex, but now they were having it protected, and they weren't facing the repercussions of the unwanted teen pregnancy that was there to prevent them from having sex in the first place. It's like, dude, Mother Nature has got you beat against your religion in terms of creating unwanted teen pregnancies. Okay? The only way to fight Mother Nature is not religion, but it's science.
And this is the spot where I'm going to stop you and get back over to Brigid, because you are the one that can speak on this one. The absolutely horrific statements to the effect of girls get pregnant, that's just the punishment that they have to deal with, and that's just their lot in life. How absolutely stomach-churningly disgusting a sentiment that is. And you, of all people, being the only lady on the panel, I'm sorry, I gotta come to you on this one, because you would know how to deal with that where we would not.
Well, how to deal with it? How, medically or just mentally?
I'll take whatever you can give me, because this is an area that I have literally
I
no personal experience on.
I resent being thought of as. Sorry about that.
Is what it is.
I'm in a hospital, yo. Um, I resent being thought of as chattel, and that's basically what we are. But if you think of these, these young girls and these women who are getting pregnant in these, states that have no access to abortion anymore, think about how their young sons are also being trapped by this. And what I think is actually relevant to the topic of today's show is what happened to Lauren Boebert's situation. I think that's a riot.
Yeah, go ahead and fill that part.
Yeah, she's all about, this abstinence only education and all this stuff. And, she claims to be this godly person, and yet her 17-year-old son impregnated a girl that's underage as well. So she's going to be a grandma at 36. How about that?
Well,
That's
the
some family values.
the grandma at 36, nobody's really going to blink at that, because I've met too many grandmas around that age point, because a lot of people don't do the math.
Yeah, kind of the same
And
way
because
that
then they go around going, I'm going to be a grandma, and are all excited, and everybody gets in, oh baby, mania, which I freaking hate. And they completely ignore the fact that, but you're only 33.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way,
I do live in the southern part of my state, remember.
yeah. And let's not forget, and I know I'm mixing a whole bunch of different things over here, but this is something I never really thought about. George Jetson was in his early 40s.
George Jetson was born yesterday or last year, I believe.
Okay, George Jetson was in his low 40s. His daughter was 16. His wife, well, let's just say, was about young. I don't remember what the exact age was, but I think his wife was supposed to have been about 16 or so when she had the girl, so I don't know, man. It's a little dicey. It's one of those things, man.
Oh, that's right. Jane was the wife.
Yep.
Not Judy.
Judy was 16.
How'd you get the ages? Where'd you get that from?
This is something that had popped up a long time ago on some form or other.
It's in Wikipedia. They did the math. They said because she is so much younger than George, she would have only been 18 at the time of Judy's birth. Now, mind you, at in the show, she's 33, and so he's 7 years older than her. That's not too bad.
No. Gets to be a little bit weird as you scroll a little earlier in the timeline, but okay,
Yeah.
it balances out eventually.
Yeah, I mean, 25 and 18, I mean, I've got a bigger age gap than that, me and my girlfriend. I also met her when she was in her 30s.
Bonjour.
Oh, well, look at this.
Look who's late to the party. You know what? I can't say I blame the guy for being late. I mean, traffic has got to be terrible in France right now.
All the protests.
Well, no, forget that. You got to dodge the piles of garbage that the garbage men have been picking up, and that's assuming it's not actually set on fire first.
Well, let's at least acknowledge him for a second. Joseph, good morning. How are you?
Of course, I think this only parrot. Can't hear you, bud, if you're talking.
Yeah, we have no sound from you.
Yeah, turn on video. Like, flap your hands. That way we know you're there.
Or maybe there's nothing there yet.
Yeah, maybe just connected so you could get some coffee.
That could be. Oh, that's right. We had the time change.
Oh, yeah.
Forgot to warn him.
And it's painful too. Oh. It takes me about 6 weeks to adjust. I'm not adjusted.
The geometry. We already know how to. They left from England with a goddamn clock, and they took the boats out west through the ocean, and then figured out how far along they were by how the sun noon directly overhead compared to what time is it on the. I mean, come on, guys. We don't need this whole time change thing. Just UTC 5 here on the Eastern Seaboard. It's what it's supposed to be. Stop fucking around with it.
Yeah, I'm with you.
"15 degrees of latitude." Wait, no, longitude. 15 degrees of longitude is every noon. So come on, guys. If UTC 5 over here, come on. It's real simple. Just keep it. Whatever.
What I can't understand and blows my mind is that Jamaica, as far east as it is from anything in the U.S., is in the Central Time Zone. I got to figure that one out.
Prince Edward Island is a half an hour ahead. I don't get that one either. So, don't do that. Don't do that. Joseph's trying to figure out what's going on over here. Are Tech? Are you like doing your nails over there? Because I hear you doing a manicure over there.
No, what I just sharpened one of my knives and it was a serrated edge, so I have to have that rounded uh, metal file, and it takes a little while. And so I was just testing out the sharpening. It sharpens really nice. It works really well. So I got carried away.
Well, it looks like Joseph has his earbuds muted, so he cannot hear us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that could be
not
a
only
problem.
is he deafened, he's muted. Yeah,
Maybe he's in the
and
process of trying to figure out what's going on. We'll
there's
have
no
to.
way for us to undo it for him because that would make a major privacy breach.
Yeah, not to mention that, if I were to even try to do anything like that, a bunch of stuff comes up on the video, and I don't want that right now. I, anyway, okay, so kind of backtracking a little bit. The whole thing about the reason why I wanted to kind of go down that bunny trail about the puritanical oversight here in the
Is
United
because we're
States
all
is because we're all
well, not all of us, but because it was founded by Puritans.
um yes and no. Yes, we did kind of have that, but you remember we still had a move towards how do I away from that puritanical the body's form is not to be viewed kind of thing coming up
Oh yeah,
into the 1920s.
we had lots of good stuff, and then religion started going, hey, they're getting out of control. We got to reherd them back into the whole thing. So let's scare them.
For lack of a better way of putting it, yeah. So, to say that the United States has always been this repressive as far as sexuality is concerned, not exactly. We've not exactly been great about it, but at the same time, we've not been the worst by any stretch. But man, once
Right
upon a
now,
time,
it's just we have over the last couple of years been seeing the pattern, and the churches have seen this, the secular organizations have seen this, the studies have confirmed it for both sides of the aisle, and that is less and less people are going to church. Less and less people are identifying as any religion. The the nuns, and I don't mean NUN, I mean the NONES, um, which encompass atheists, anti-theists, um,
just non-theists.
agnostics, and so on, is increasing. In the open, they're announcing that, hey, we're here. Yes, we've been here for a while, but we're just making our voices heard because it needs to be heard. And so those numbers are going up, and it's scaring the shit out of the religious community.
Yeah,
I mean, this is something that we've talked about and droned on about in many episodes. So this is what it looks like when religion fears for itself, when those who have been using it to garner their power, and if you don't believe that the people at the higher levels of the organized religions are either not in it for the power or whatever, yeah, you're still drinking their Kool-Aid, by the way, bub.
yeah,
They're
and
afraid. They're afraid of losing their money. They're afraid of losing their power over others. So they've been doing this stuff. And it comes back to, you know, they're not supposed to be influencing our government, but they are.
yeah, the group that comprises the nuns. I misspoke. I was saying, someone who is just non-theist. That's not correct. And so I need to call myself out on this one straight away. The quote unquote nuns comprises folks who are, yes, atheist, agnostic, non theists, anti theists, but it also includes those people who are theists themselves of whatever strain or other, but are not affiliated with any particular organized group. So it's entirely possible that someone who is a nun is some stripe of Christian or other, And before anybody goes ahead and gives me shit about it, yes, Catholics, you're Christians, deal with it, die mad as far as I'm concerned, but they're just not affiliated with a particular church. And the more that they stay away from the Living Waters Church, the better. You're welcome. So the groupings, the organized religious groups, the churches, mosques, temples, whatever groups there are, where they have been consolidating the individuals in order to get their money and influence. Tech's right. They are losing these people. They are losing the youth. They are, as we've said before, they're simply atrophying. They're dying out. They're a breed that's simply going away through natural causes, which means soon there's almost nobody left. And that's just kind of the way that, ironically enough, evolution operates.
And that's another part that plays into it as well. The birth rate in the US is declining. It's declining for several really simple economic reasons. Lack of livable wages, the inflation getting out of control, and not because, hey, we're making more money like the Fed says. It's because they want to recover their losses or whatever. And the best way to do it is to pinch it out of you and me. And as well as the oligarchy, the exceptionally wealthy, the top of the top. Think Bezos wealth or Elon Musk wealth, although his kind of declined for a while there. But he's still richer than God.
Well,
Possibly. Anyway, the point is that if you think people that wealthy don't influence government law, then you have not been paying attention in your government courses. And if you didn't take any government courses, I think you need to seriously take some. Yeah, you're looking up the word lobbyists.
there is that.
But the point is that one of the easiest ways for these wealthy to continue making more money, and for the religious organizations to get more members, is to drive up the birth rate. So what's one of the easiest ways to drive up the birth rate? No birth control for anybody. Good luck, have fun, see you later. The birth rate in this country would skyrocket. It would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
We have 330 million people in this country, not counting all those that was killed by COVID.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, we'd probably hit 1 billion real quick.
Well, could be. I mean, let's face it. The '60s. What was the greatest form of birth control for Catholics? The rhythm method,
which doesn't work.
Well, it doesn't work well. It's better than 50-50, if just. But then again, they go ahead and say
that's
that
like having real sex too.
Yeah,
it's 50-50 shot.
Yeah. Then again, they also say, well, you can't use any other orifices because that's sodomy, and that's wrong. That's you're not allowed to do that. Oh, what? So yeah. And if anybody's kind of wondering, well, how bad could it possibly be? Go out to Blockbuster and rent. Oh, I don't know. What was the name of that movie? It came out in the '80s. Had Patrick Swayze, and the whole thing about the dancer girl who needed an abortion and it got botched.
Yeah, remember, nobody puts baby in a corner.
Right. A lot of folks don't remember about that part. We've talked about it before. That whole plot so many people just completely forget about that part. And my God, that father, the doctor, I I know he's not a real person. It's just we know full well he's just an actor who unfortunately is gone at this. But the character of that doctor who basically said, yeah, stuff is wrong, but you know what? This is a human life that is about to die unless I do something. I'm going to do something. You know, when we think of how doctors are quote unquote supposed to act, I'm the type of person that would look at that and go, yeah, you set everything else aside. There's someone in need or they're going to die. You do what needs to be done so that they don't die. But, you know, that's just me. The hell do I know?
Hello.
Joseph, you are there.
Hey, we can hear you.
Jeez.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Comment allez-vous?
Ça va? Oui, ça va.
We're doing okay. Some of the areas that you would normally be hanging out apparently are on fire. What?
Oh, yeah. Yep. And there's more protests for Tuesday. And normally, King Charles, wanted to call him Prince Charles, but that's changed. And his wife are supposed to be visiting today.
Well, that's a bit of a problem. So, hi, good morning. Yeah, I don't think that I put enough warning that the time zone had changed on us again. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I don't know exactly when that happened, but anyway. But sorry I wasn't around these last weeks.
Not a worry. Not a worry. As
Things
usual,
have been
you
a
know,
bit mouvementé.
yeah, we kind of figured that things were busy, to put it nicely for you. But it is good to hear you again.
You too, sir.
So yeah, let's all right. So we've only got about a half an hour to go. So let me give you the real quick rundown as to what happened, because you are famously of the okay. So what are we talking about tonight kind of thing. So let me bring you up to speed really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Out in Utah here in the United States, there were some bans that were put into place for public schools regarding different books. And the legislators were warned, this is not going to end well for you. Don't do this. But, they did their thing and they said, books that have these various different things that are inappropriate for children, these books should not be allowed in the libraries in these schools, so we want them out. And don't know who it was because their information is being kept away from the public, put in a complaint and said, well, there is a book that has misogyny, infanticide, a whole bunch of different things that are just completely objectionable, including rape and incest. And they said, we would like for you to remove the Bible from the library as well, please, and thank you.
That would make sense.
And now the school district people who were in charge of putting in these rules are all up in arms because they're like, well, what the hell do we do now? And we knew this was coming. We even said earlier that, we knew this was going to be coming, but they went and they did it anyway, and now they are at the find out part of the fuck around graph. And we're just going to have we're having a good laugh about it, kind of talking about some of the things that were kind of putting things in place for the puritanical way that the United States is over the last, century, unfortunately.
Oh, well, they only call it pure.
That's a good way of describing it. Yeah, I was. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, I'm interrupting you, but yeah, but the fascists thought they were pure as well.
True. That's true. That's very much true. What what we had just finished off on just a little bit before you got here was how I was saying that the United States was not always quite so puritanical about sexuality, or minimally the human body, about the turn of the last century, the 1920s and whatnot. It was not terribly surprising for there to be nude art on display, even fairly publicly so. And I say fairly because it was still relegated to adult viewers, but it wasn't for the titillation factor, so to speak. So yeah, we've had a little bit of fun talking about how much a dumbass group these folks are, and different ways that that these things have played out, which has just made us collectively just go, how did you not see this coming?
Yeah, but this has been going on for a while, since the 1980s. Chip, chip, chip.
It was definitely, I would say it was definitely happening in the 80s, but I don't think that it started anywhere near there. I, believe it or not, I think that we can easily, you know what? I was going to say the 50s, because you had Elvis, who just made a complete travesty of the social sexual norms, because don't film him from the hips down when he's don't let him dance around and whatnot. But I mean, you could go back earlier to the swing era, World War II, and how the societal others in entertainment were very much the thing because of the African American sound, and how black performers were maligned because they were all considered to be drug users to a fault. Sorry, there are things about musical history that I just know about, and they piss me off every time. Sorry about that.
Did you see the movie came out recently, Babylon?
I have not. I don't think that I've heard of it even.
Oh, wait a second. It was a movie about the 1920s, the debauchery of the 1920s. I think it came out just last year, or maybe even this year. I don't know. But there's a bit of all of that in there. I think. Yep, just came out last year. It's called Babylon, and it's about the swinging 20s.
I will make a note for myself to take a look for that.
And Brad Pitt's in it, so it's not a nothing movie. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. Yeah, the evangelicals, you could put that back to the 1930s, actually, from the Depression. Because with Prohibition and all that, when they overturned Prohibition, the evangelicals started to get a little worried that they would lose control even more. They thought they had it during the 1920s, during Prohibition.
Yeah, there is that. I have to look that one up. Stephanie had also said there are 4 women who are suing because their doctors did not follow the principle of do the least harm, possibly in Texas. I don't know that is something by that wording that could be sued over. Medical negligence, I could very easily see that, but without knowing anything else about the possibility of what's going on with that one. I don't think we can speak to that one just yet. But yeah, so it's been it's been hellacious going down some of these side tracks about this whole thing, Joseph. Trying to figure out.
Oh, you're talking. What was the abortion? The doctor refusing to give an abortion?
Possibly.
I'm sorry. You have to fill me in. I came so late.
No, that's okay. Stephanie had pointed out about something, and I'm kind of a little lost on what the particular area is on that one at the moment.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So a little bit more. They're objecting to the Texas abortion bills. They were rich enough to go to another state, except the one who is now infertile. And for anybody that doesn't know, the size of Texas is measured in
Huge.
Oh my God, huge is the right word for it. It is hours upon hours upon hours of travel time to get out of it, depending as to where you are. I mean, it's just go. Just pick a direction to drive and hope. Because you got about as much luck as hitting Mexico as you do another state in the U.S. So, good luck on that one. Or the water. Just gotta be careful with that one. But anyway, kind of going back to the book banning and such. A piece that we didn't get to talk about yet that you may or may not have seen pop up. There have been a number of people who have come out at school board meetings, town hall meetings, and whatnot, who have spoken on behalf of the kids, the LGBTQIA plus community who are being affected, and the speakers have been incredible. Some of them have been youth. Some of them have been not youth exactly, but still relatively young, who are also part of the LGBTQA community. But there was one woman who came out to say her piece. And you may not have seen about this one. She came out, she said her piece, she had what it was that she was going to talk about. 100 years old. This, I will admit it, looking at her, this frail old lady at 100 years old came out and read them the riot act and reminded them how people banning and burning books, first off, are never the good guys. And second, she's 100 years old. She lived through the last group who went ahead and did this thing, and it didn't end well for them. So why do they think that they're doing the right thing, doing a good thing? It was really, you know what? I gotta find the news report on that one. But it was really incredible to see. So I wanted to find out. Had you heard about any of these people talking, complaining, saying their piece? And if not, what do you think of the idea of someone who's 100 just coming out and saying, I'm not going to stay quiet on this one. Are you kidding me?
Did we lose him?
I do not know. Joseph, are you still there?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. You were talking to me.
Yes. So, like I said, I'm wondering, had you seen any of those news reports from all the stuff going on? And even so, if one way or the other, what do you think of the idea that old woman lived through all the stuff for 100 years at this point, coming out and just ripping into these school boards and telling them what for?
Oh yeah, well they deserve it. I mean, I've been following kind of at a distance. I've had quite a problem with insomnia these past weeks. So I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. Um, so I got bits and pieces here and there. No full coverage of it, but well, yeah. Um, Good for her, and But I'm what most interests me is their answer. Did they give one?
Yeah, and Stephanie is pointing out, and thank you for pointing that out because I'd forgotten about that. The woman that I'm referencing, her husband died in World War II.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, she had not remarried. I don't think, but I didn't look too far into that one. Husband died World War II at 26. As well, I mean World War II, so he was fighting on the American side, so you kind of get a pretty good idea on it. There is video on YouTube. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find a link onto that one, but yeah, man, you're exactly right though. If they don't want to listen to the youth, they should at the very least be listening to someone who actually knows from experience what the hell's going on. And you're right, they deserve every yell that they get leveled at them, especially at that level.
But did the book ban go through?
It did. And that's why we were having so much fun about this one, because now that the book ban is in place, at least one set of parents, or one parent, went ahead and complained about the Bible being in there and that it should be removed. And now they're in a tizzy because, well, that's not the way we intended this. This isn't the way we intended this rule to go into effect, and that's not what it's supposed to do. So now they don't know what the hell to do. And we're just loving it because we knew this was going to happen. We warned them, and, well, they just went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah. Well, people who are put in face of their own hypocrisy probably weren't expecting a reaction in the first place. I don't know if that sounds cryptic or not, but people who make dictates are expecting that people obey without question or whatever, because the sheep are in need of herding.
Yeah.
But not all of us are sheep, and they don't seem to understand that.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's also another piece that ties into something else we were talking about. And since you're finally kind of catching up on this stuff, you're gonna love this one. One of the other things that was pointed out was from Tech in particular, that the churches, the organized churches, are the ones who have been pushing for these kinds of things, especially so, but they are hemorrhaging people at a huge rate from people who are part of their congregations into the nuns category. And because of that, they are just panicking and losing their power and influence and money, and influence and power and money for exactly that reason. And this is one way to try to dumb down the populace so that maybe long term they can get them back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what's been going on since Reagan, progressive dumbing down and fear mongering. You need us to protect you, so listen, or else.
Yeah, that's Okay, it's funny you should use that specific wording, because if I could be a little bit wrong on this one, and uh, Tech or Brigid, help me out on this one, if to correct me just a little bit on this, because I know full well that I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit. Wasn't that sentiment one of the things that the former guy was espousing for himself many, many times? Things are bad, and I'm the only one that can save you from it all.
Yeah. Why do you think so many of those religious right actually, and I don't mean the politicians, I mean the people posting selfies and so on of them making signs essentially claiming that Trump is the second coming of Christ, putting him in pictures
Yeah.
in hand drawn, whatever, manipulating his body posture to make him look like he was Jesus crucified on the cross. I just, the amount of people that support Trump based because they've been told to by their religious peers is exceptionally significant, and it history, depending on what happens in the future, could potentially, and I could see this happening very easily too, use his presidency as an example of what happens when you have a theocracy, in the works. Um, an example of fascism and the methodologies used to instill a political leader using fascism, and so on.
So,
It's really scary.
Yeah.
but if you look at the base, no matter the organization, people who would burn books or whatever, it's basically, well, nowadays I just oversimplify, but I just call it fascism. Because when it's a democracy, we decide for ourselves what's best for us, and then we discuss with each other what's best for everyone. That's how it should work. And these guys, probably since, even the beginning of a religion, um, these religious leaders, they depend on people who don't know what's best for themselves. I mean, they don't think for themselves. And there was a time they had total power, and then they learned to play nice with the powers that would be. I mean, for a long time, the religion has had a privileged position, and I mean, really privileged. I mean, I would call it, to oversimplify again, it's fascism within. It's a fascism protected by democracy between quotes. Basically, these guys they don't have the religious leaders, they don't have the right to rule everything anymore. But within the existing system, they have a huge population, which is giving them 10% of their income. So they work with the politicians, just as long as everything's going well with the economy and everything, well, they're not going to complain because they're getting their 10%. So they're just happy to have control over their populace, and that's it. But now they're losing at the same time. The economy is going to shit, and they're losing their quote unquote flock. And that's what all the tizzy's about.
So keep operating the puppet's mouth until it's no longer worthwhile to operate the puppet's mouth.
Yep. And the choice of puppets is, look at it. I mean, how can you set the bar lower than Trump? I mean, it started with Reagan. I mean, and I've watched it over the years.
DeSantis is a smarter Trump, which is why I'm not saying an exceptionally smart person. I'm just saying he's smarter than Trump, but he is also Trumpish in his um, designs. He doesn't think himself God, but he has more focus on getting the things that Trump wanted, which was, catering to the religious right and so on, and the GOP. DeSantis can make that happen, and he knows how to do it. He's smart in that respect. He's not some Luddite in office. He's an educated man. He also knows how the system works. So it doesn't require somebody to sit at his elbow night and day and say, no, don't sign that document, sign this one over here.
I think that's one of the things that makes him
He's
arguably
scarier than Trump.
Yeah.
For me, to see him, run for presidency in 2024, which if something does happen that makes it Trump completely ineligible to run in this country, I believe the GOP might actually look to Santos.
Maybe because the point of the quote unquote choice of Trump is just putting basically a figurehead in place. They just want somebody there who's the people who put Trump in power. They just want to continue as they have always done, and that's it. So Trump was almost a distraction, but with him, they might have created a monster because.
Oh, they did. They created a nightmare of a man.
But that's also a bridge to a fascist leader. I mean, goodbye democracy.
But so long as they get their power and they get to hold on to it, the end justifies the means. And on top of all that, as we've heard many a time, the cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
It's really funny though, because I heard a story recently about they should be careful what they wish for, because like I heard that in Afghanistan the Taliban they're complaining because they actually have to govern shit and like do work, and they're very bad at it.
Can't imagine why.
Well, when
but
you're
look at the religious. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, when you're suddenly thrust into the position of needing to govern, and it doesn't simply organically grow into itself, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm not saying that they're without blame. I'm just saying somehow I'm not surprised that it is the way that it is.
Yeah, well, they're complaining because working's hard. Because look at these religious leaders. I mean, they don't even need any education. You've got the dumbed down that they don't have to work for their income. They don't have to do dick. But if they do eventually become in a position of power, yeah, there's work to be done, and since they're not good at anything good in particular, that always ends up in disaster.
Yeah. We're coming up to the top of the hour, and we got to see about wrapping things up over here. I have been exceptionally lucky at this point, I think. Tempting the great God Murphy, I know that I didn't lose power, which is good, which means we're in the last couple of minutes, so we should be able to get out of here without needing to boogie out really, really quickly. I'm a little out of practice in trying to figure out what I could or even should close with. I'll hold on for just a couple of seconds. Joseph, I'll give you I'll have you almost pull up the rear to see if there's anything that kind of catches you on this one. Tech, is there anything that you wanted to get out before we go ahead and close it?
Yeah. I know I've been hostile in my stance, And that's because, when you see equality being stripped away in the name of of attempting to claim that it's for equality reasons, you want to beat somebody over the head with a stick or lead weight, in my case, lead anvil. Anyway, at the same time, to the adults that think that their children shouldn't be having sex, well, their hormones override you. Okay. Yeah, there's ways to prevent kids from having sex whether they like it or not, and so on and so on and so on. But you're not going to have a healthy relationship with your kid, and they're not going to end up growing into healthy relationships either. If you want to break that cycle, you need medically and factually accurate sexual education. Maybe attend it with your kid at the same time, because maybe your kid will have questions that you have the answers to. Or, God forbid, you don't have the answer, you look it up and you show them how to do research. Make it a learning, scenario where you go to the library and you look these things up together. And that way you can research and get the same knowledge. And yeah, going outside your bubble like that is scary, but you want to be a good parent, right? Do research with your kid.
Teach your kid to think.
Yeah.
And demonstrate what it looks like, because that'll help them.
Yeah, once they're off. Damn.
Yeah. And Brigid, just before I get to you, and for anybody that's wondering, is that a worthwhile thing of doing? You guys have all heard about my kid, right? I taught him how to think, not what to think. Didn't always work out well for me because he learned to measure the dimensions of the box that was wrapped up under the tree for Christmas and figured out that it was a Nintendo DS. You know what? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. Fine. Figured out what he was getting for Christmas by measuring the damn box and comparing it to the dimensions online for the box. He got it. Brigid, all yours. What do you got left?
I don't really have anything. Just I would like to see what happened in Utah happened down in Florida, because that would turn into like the Jerry Springer show. That would be funny. I could see people at these meetings swinging chairs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, I could just see it now. In relation to the Judy Blume book, Hello, God, It's Me, Margaret, you are not the banned book of the week. I don't know how else to. I don't even know if I got the name right. But you get the idea.
I don't even know what to say, because we even had that book in our library when I was a kid, and I went to a really strict CFC private school, and we even had that book. So I don't see what the big deal is with that book.
Ooh.
Because CFC was repressive, if anything.
What was the book in question?
Hello, God, It's Me, Margaret.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna have to move along pretty quickly because I'm even with my earbuds in, I'm hearing the wind outside coming back up again. Joseph, was there anything that you wanted to drop off before we have to close up shop? I know you didn't have very long with us at the moment.
Yeah, I know. Just next time I'll be on time, and that way I can catch up with what you all were talking about. So sorry about that.
No, it's all right, man. As always, it's just glad to know that you're doing relatively okay.
Yeah.
Relative. Yeah, I'll stay on after. We can talk about that.
Okay. We'll see how long it'll work for me. The quick and dirty for me, then, this whole thing. Do we want to see this happen in other places like Florida? Absolutely. For no other reason that the fuck around and find out needs to happen. The problem is, a lot of us are really worried about how it's going to play in some of these entrenched areas, especially Florida. It's an uphill battle, and we know it's going to be an uphill battle. But again,
same thing with Tennessee.
As we said before, the only way to eat that elephant is one bite at a time. We can go ahead and flail hard in some of these places, and maybe justifiably so. But part of the problem is that the voting base has been corrupted. It's not been given its education. And because of that, it's going to be a harder pill to swallow for everybody else. The best we can do is just try. Brigid,
it's the same thing down here, you know, where, you know, in Tennessee, all the book burnings and things like that. And that's where I'm at right now. Well, that's not where my mom lives, but that's where she's in the hospital at, you know, so I'm in Tennessee right now. What the hell happened to this state? It hasn't always been this crazy. I promise you it hasn't.
I hate to put it this way, but after 1979, didn't they say the same thing about Iran?
Yeah, you got a point.
I may be a little bit hyperbolic, but as somebody else had put it, with the current state of the GQP here in the United States these days, is it even possible to be hyperbolic about how they have been behaving?
Nope, that's what they're trying to do.
So we'll have to kind of see how this plays out, because this is not a real happy place. However, we do have to call it a night because, like I said, I'm just glad that I didn't end up having anything cut out on me, like cable, power, or anything like that. So I'm just really happy for that. Everybody, thank you very much for being able to be with us. It's good to be back with you. Hope that you had yourself a good time with us and you found something worthwhile to think about for the week up ahead. Stephanie, thanks for being with. I will be going back through the chat to see what other items I might have missed. But just, again, thank you. I don't know what happened to Felis. Might have passed out or might not have power. I don't know what's going on, but be that as it may, thank you very kindly. Joseph, you were last in, so I'll get you first. Again, glad you were able to make it. Yeah, we'll kind of I'll try to hang around a bit and see how things play out, and it's just good to hear you, man.
Yeah, well, good to be here.
All right. Tech, glad you were able to make it. You, again, for your week ahead, you take care of yourself, man. Good luck.
Yep, you guys too.
This is going to be an interesting week coming up for your neck of the woods. So I hope it stays relatively uneventful.
It will be fine. I'm from New York. I know how to deal with this crap.
Yeah, you cross the border into Jersey and hope to hell that everybody else has got the good sense not to follow you into it. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
But glad you were able to make it. And Brigid,
Sorry, I'm just tired right now.
no, perfectly reasonable. Brigid, it's been it's been a hot minute. I'm pretty sure there's an FU that you've got waiting in the wings because Lord knows you've almost always got an FU waiting in the wings.
I'm gonna give it this time to Kevin McCarthy, you smarmy little bastard.
Can't imagine.
He's a good one. He has no spine, and he's, taking up for the part of the GQP caucus, and just, it makes my skin crawl.
You know, when you use the expression GQP and spineless, if you hadn't said specifically Kevin McCarthy, I would have needed to ask, could you be a little bit more specific in who you're talking about? Because I'm sorry, am I saying that they're all? Well, I mean, I could be.
Worst speaker ever.
Yeah, it could be. By the way, has anybody heard anything about the turtle after having his tumble? I haven't heard. I haven't heard
I
news
have not
report
heard
one.
anything.
Are you talking about Moscow Mitch?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't believe it
released.
happened. I want
He's been
video.
released from recovery therapy or whatever it is that they do for somebody who's had a concussion. So he's been medically discharged.
I don't believe it happened. I want video.
What, him falling down and hitting his head?
Yeah, I want to rewind it and replay it over and over again.
I don't know. I mean, he only got a concussion.
Yeah, but still, picture it never happened.
Yeah. In a world filled with cameras, the only safe space is in front of cameras.
You know what?
Because then you don't have to rely on bad eyewitness testimony.
You know what?
I would indulge in Schadenfreude, that's for sure. And I'm not gonna lie. I would.
Tech. Most folks don't understand about this term. Technically, you've just zeroed us for next week's show topic.
Schadendorphins?
That was this week. No. I'll
Gravity?
yes and no.
Things fall down, go boom.
That he only got a concussion?
No, I'll explain afterwards because we got to get the hell out of here. And
Gravita?
Gravitas.
Helping me.
Surveillance.
I see what you did there.
Surveillance.
Anyhow,
cameras.
As always, good to have you all with us, and we'll be looking forward to you for next week. I'll see about having a show notice up a little bit earlier than 12 hours before showtime for a change. If you'd like to be joining us next week, we'll be on. You can join us over on Discord. We do have a Discord server, and the usual spots on Facebook and Twitter. Got stuff rolling on there. I know they're hellscape, but they're an effective hellscape, so is what it is. To kind of go along with that, even though we have lost Beth, I am going to continue posting the show note, the show announcements over in the Beyond the Trailer Park group. I don't know what the status is going to be for that. I don't know who had control over the account itself, but for the time being, I'll continue posting in there, and I will make it a point to invite the folks to gravitate over to us on the off chance that maybe we'll provide the community for them as well. So please keep that in mind. If you'd like to be in touch with us otherwise, holycrapthevlogcast.com is where you'll be able to find everything. I got a funny about that in just a second. Again, Twitter, Discord, Facebook. Got all the stuff over there. The audio version of the podcast is over on the website. Phone number, if you'd like to be in touch, is 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. Earlier today, I got a lockout notice about the website that somebody was trying to log in for the admin control of the website, and they attempted for holycrapthevlogcast.com, they thought that the admin account name was Holy Crap the Vlogcast and the number 1. I'm going to tell you right now. Neither that or curly bracket admin curly bracket. That doesn't work either. So enjoy your 2-month lockout from your IP address. I say 2 months because that's what the automated is set to, and really it doesn't matter. We will be in touch with you again and talk to you again next week, assuming that everything works. So till that next time, as always, I wish you all peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. It's...
And we wish you happy and healthy sex life, too.
My lady, it has been just way too long. I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. And until the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.